navigating parental relationships as adult children is challenging.
Very well said. Yeah.
That when the dynamics of your relationship change, when it's no longer, the hierarchy is no longer clear.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's pretty clear when you're the child and it gets muddy when you become a teenager. It gets muddy when you go to college, and then it gets just weird after you've moved out and started your own household.
Yeah. Yeah. And so the movie really did play on like, okay, I'm an adult now. Mm-hmm. I want you a part of my life, but not through all the criticism.
Yep.
But hey, here is this really important person to me, and I would love for you to show enthusiasm in affirming her and welcoming her. But you're not doing that, so now I kind of don't want to spend a whole lot of time around you. You know, so that dynamic between Joy and Evelyn was just like it was like, wow, this is really relatable.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you think about like adult parent-child relationships, what besides what we said so far feels hard about that?
I think one of the things is hard is finding a way to honor your own independence while still honoring your parents. Being true to what you believe, what your values are, but not wanting to do that at the expense of them.
Yeah.
Right. So, a more humorous example is when you come back home from college for the first time and your parents have a curfew. Like, I ain't really had a curfew
for the last 8 months.
I'm 19 years old. I'm technically an adult. Like, I should be able to do what I want to do, but I'm still living in your roof.
Yeah.
So how do I navigate that? And it gets more difficult as you get older. You have your own family, you have your own priorities and things like that. And so it can be really difficult for adult children to be like, this is the boundary that I'm setting.
Yeah.
This is how I am going to do things, even if it does not align with how you would do things.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I know for my family, what happened was if you were still under my roof, you still follow my rules, which to me, I mean, I'm a rule follower. That's my personality. Unless the rule doesn't make sense, then I'm a little rebellious. But so that felt like a very easy kind of decision for me, getting into my 20s and coming back home from college. Like, okay, yeah, I didn't have a curfew while I was at school, but I'm at my mom's house for the next 6 weeks. I guess I'm going to be coming home at 10, right? So a lot of that is kind of taken care of with the desire to like just honor. Like, yeah, I know it's inconvenient, especially since I'm in my 20s now and I'm able to make decisions for myself. But out of honor, I'm going to respect, your rules and boundaries. Yeah.
So how does that get more difficult? I'd give an example of a little bit more of a comedic example. But how does that get more difficult as an adult, as a married woman, as a person who's been on your own for much longer?
Yeah, I was trying to think of that. I mean, I think in situations where, once you're from under your parents' roof and look, maybe you've developed some political values or some religious values that are very different from your parents, and just the act of talking about them feels like disrespect to your parents. But you're in a stage of life where it's fulfilling to think out loud about what you believe and to declare what you believe. I think that's where a lot of tension ends up coming up, right? You end up around the table together on the holidays and you just watch the same news segment that your parents did and you don't really think what they think about what came on that news segment. So you're sitting there like, should I say what I think I'm going to say? And a lot of us have decided to say what we think we're going to say. And now you're not talking to your mom for a couple weeks after the holidays, So I think those are moments where that gets really difficult.
Yeah.
I don't know. Any others that you can think of, like where that tension of, okay, do I choose to honor?
I think it comes up a lot in how people raise their children.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. That's an easy one. Yeah.
The most obvious example is like corporal punishment.
Oh, yeah.
Previous generation, that was that's just what we did. That's the only way to keep these kids in line. And now, with more research, with more scientific findings, we've learned that is probably not the right way to do things. And although we may have survived it, we did not thrive in those environments.
That's a word.
So I think that's parenting, I think, brings up a lot of that as well, because I think it's hard to watch parents watch their kids parent
differently.
And they're just like, oh, I wouldn't have done that. Are you sure you're doing that right? Because I did this, and look how you turned out. You did art now. I'm just saying.
And I think when I have heard parents of adult children be honest about what they felt in those moments, I've heard people say, that seeing their children make a conscious decision to parent different than they did brings up some kind of guilt emotions, some, maybe even some shameful emotions, right? Because then you as a parent start asking questions about, well, goodness, did I do some damage?
Yeah.
And so, as a quick tangent, what I hope that every parent of an adult child would be able to kind of say to themselves and accept for themselves is that they did the best they could with the tools that they had. And their children who are adults now have a whole different set of tools.
Yeah.
And so that doesn't mean, by them having a different set of tools that, you as a parent of an adult child are like a bad person or like that you were just this damaging impact. It doesn't mean that necessarily. It just means you had a whole different set of tools.
Absolutely.
Right? And so I think it's therapeutic and healing to be able to say to your adult child, look, I know that by me not having these particular tools and skills, I had this negative impact on you, and I'm sorry, but I did the best I could.
Yeah.
Here's how I would love to move forward. Or, what is it that you would like for me to know about how you experienced that as a child, and being willing to listen rather than kind of getting swept up in the guilt or the shame of it.